This is the Rays POSTCAST, your instant game reaction to the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Tampa Bay Rays POSTCAST, your spot for instant Rays reaction to every single game. My name is Jonathan Shields. Make sure you guys go follow me on Twitter at Johnny10Shields. Continue to be very active over there. And man, this was a huge win for the Rays. It's just felt like the Rays needed this one. And with all the bad breaks that happened during that last road trip, it's about time the Rays finally get some breaks. You know, we talked about a lot during that last road trip, especially the last two games against the Red Sox. You're going to have games where you should have won, but you lost. This was a game, going to look back at it, the Orioles expecting batting average for this game, 254, the Rays, 193. So, you know, this is one of those games that's kind of flipped, but you take it nonetheless. Boston lost again today. All of a sudden, we're talking about that positive momentum. They need a game from this first homestand. They're doing that because now they're just a half game out of a wild card once again. So, and in this one, we're going to talk about how big that comeback was, how Latell and Uceta are two of the most kind of unspoken heroes from this game. Fortunately, we got to talk about Brandon Lau was hurt again. We're going to look ahead to see what the Rays need to do to get a sweep. But first, we got to talk about how much of a game changer Chandler Simpson is.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Before we get to Simpson, obviously, got to talk about how Dean Kremer just almost again just dominated the Rays. I mean, not almost again. He did dominate the Rays. I mean, he went 7 innings again, won a runner less again. I mean, it's at the point where he's only allowed 2 earned runs against the Rays in 3 starts this year. So I don't know what he does. His splitter / curveball was really good today, but man, I mean, the Rays couldn't get anything going. And then right when he goes out, it's like, oh, here we go. And Serenity Dominguez is a good reliever. And that's why I was so impressed first with Ha-Seong Kim shooting that ball the other way, stealing second. Matt Thaiss doing a job getting him to third. And that's where we get to our turning point of the game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
It's Chandler Simpson doing a job. I mean, fouling off 99 at the top of the zone. I mean, wasn't that bad. And that's why I tweeted. I mean, he fouled off tough pitch after tough pitch, and he was sitting for that off-speed pitch, and he finally got it, and he ripped it up the middle. And that's why he's also our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's Chandler Simpson. And, you know, he immediately steals second after that, gets the third, and then his base is loaded. They bring the lefty, and Aranda grounds in. It looks like it was a tailor-made double play ball. I'm not sure why Ahern didn't go to second, because even if they made the play at home, it would have been really close. Simpson might have beat that out anyway. And then, so his speed gets him there. And I know he had a misplay in the outfield, but being able to track that ball down to the last second is in the ninth is tough. Is, you know, the growth that you're hoping to see. That ball Jackson Holiday hit, home run in 10 parks, including Camden Yards. So, you know, thankfully we're playing at Steinbrenner. We talked about how Junior hit a Steinbrenner special yesterday, and you know, it kind of works the other way around in favor of the Rays. But it's about time the Rays kind of have these runs. And Doug Wechter talked about it on the broadcast, how Chandler Simpson is a difference maker. He's a game changer with his speed. And you know, what all he do? He extended his hitting streak to 18. He immediately caused havoc on base paths, immediately stole second. And then when he's at third, Ahern has to rush that throw so much to home that it caused it to score 2 runs because he threw it, you know, not really even that close to the catcher. So, I mean, he impacts the game in so many different ways. And you saw kind of each way he impacts it, positively and a little bit negatively, in this game tonight. And he's just so valuable to what the Rays do. And he's going to be a mainstay at the top of the order going forward, man. I mean, he was just so fun to watch tonight. But, you know, let's keep talking about this comeback because, you know, I thought even when Junior doubled it to get it second or third, you see Kremer really started to kind of wear a little bit. And I'm just kind of surprised the Rays only got 1 off him. It just speaks to how good he was. But in that seventh inning, the Rays were able to do a job and get 1. And I thought that was a really important at bat from Josh Lowe to move the baseball over, get Yandy in, and being able to manufacture that 1 run. So that just that 1 run ties the game. And of course, we have to talk about how good Uceta was. I mean, ultra impressive for how much he's been criticized this year, by myself included. And I'm gonna be frank with you guys, I was not happy when he went out there for that second inning. I thought that, his stuff wasn't gonna be as sharp, and to an extent, it wasn't. But his changeup on it had to have been Laureano with the guy with the gunner on third was filth. I mean, just complete filth from Uceta. For his last pitch, I think let me double check what his pitch count was, because I think that was like his 32nd pitch of his outing, and just pure filth to Laureano, who's hurt the Rays a lot this year. So Uceta might not get talked about a lot, but he was an absolute. I'm not gonna say the difference. He ended up picking up the win, but man, his second inning especially was so special because Gunner's hit kind of one of those ones that's a little bit fluky, So for him to be able to get back in, lock back in, and go through that heart of the Orioles order and just shut guys down. I mean, I thought outside of the Simpson RBI single was the turning point of the game, was what Uceta was able to do, and I don't want to overstep that while we continue to talk about this comeback. So, going in, that the Orioles don't have a good bullpen. They have really good back end pieces. Soto is really good. Obviously, that Bautista, who's good, and even Sir Anthony Dominguez has been good. He's not like he's some guy has a 5 ERA. Like Dominguez is a good pitcher. As we go kind of look at his outings before the All-Star break, I mean, he came in before this with a 3.5 ERA. This was the first time. He went through a stretch in June where he didn't give up a run. So, he's one of the better relievers that the Orioles have. So being able to do that off him and the quality at bats that the Rays were able to have, that's why we talked about this lineup, this new lineup. It's only a matter of time. They just keep coming at you. And there's not a guy where it's like, oh, here's an easy out, right? Here's an easy at bat. No, Ha-Seong Kim hit an 8th, shoots it the other way, steals second. That Theis, who didn't have that good of a game, fought. And that it with 2 strikes before he moved the runner over. The splitter low, the changeup low, whatever it was, that he was able to foul off was so impressive because he was dead set on fastball. He was sitting fastball, and being able to recognize that the last second, just get a piece and to be able to move Kim over, another super underrated part of the game. So, I mean, this was a game the Rays needed. It felt like the Rays needed the breaks in this one that they didn't get during the road trip. And again, it just puts them one step closer to really just putting their foot down and starting the second half strong. And starting that second half with this homestand, at least going 4-2, going into a road trip that concludes with a 4-game set. The Yankees, who last time I checked were losing the Braves as they continue to spiral. So let's actually look at the Yankees game, as they are still losing in the top of the 8th. So, the Rays have an opportunity to really kind of clean up with a lot of opportunities for other teams losing in the division. But we're going to talk about how solid Zack Littell was. We're going to talk about how Brandon Lau is unfortunately hurt again. But first, make sure you guys comment. If you guys are in the live, make sure you guys comment. What do you guys think of this comeback? I want to hear about those comments. What do you think about Chandler Simpson and his ability to change the game? And really kind of everything I've said so far. But we're going to talk about Brandon Lau and Zack Littell right after this. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. So whether I'm placing a same game parlay or watching the bet right into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm a part in the action. And that's something that FanDuel is really good of. You don't have to be watching the game. They have super up to like the second stuff. So if you're bet a nerfing, you have 2 outs, runner on third, you can click on that game you're watching, and it gives you maybe a 5-second delay from the actual game to what's going on. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. So again, if you guys are in the live, make sure you guys leave a comment because we're going to talk about Zack Littell right now. And man, he just continues to be so solid. And I think Rays fans start to take him for granted. And the way he bounced back, because in that first inning, it was kind of the worst I've seen him. The knocking out some of the rush from the All-Star break. His command was all over the place, so you don't really see. He was kind of starting to have to fight back in those counts, which is part of the reason why they got the hits, right? He fell down 3-1 to O'Hearn, 2-0 to Holiday, or 2-1 to Holiday. And those he had to come back and get those outs. And then right after that, man, he was dialed in. His splitter was really good from like the third to the fifth inning. His splitter was filth, and his splitter was his most thrown pitch tonight. And then he was really able to mix the fastball and sinker. That two seam that he throws that goes in on lefties. Drew Rasmussen throws it too. I was really filthy again tonight. And he got a few hits. They kind of beat him up a little bit off the slider, or the sweeper is what baseball savant calls it. And he kind of cut it away. He only threw 3 or 4 of them. So really good maturity from Zack Latell to see that pitch is working tonight. Go with what's working, and it worked once again for him. And he didn't give up a home run. Many claps for Zack Littell for not giving up a home run tonight. But again, he might be the unsung kind of MVP of this team. The way he just goes out and what you're going to get. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a quality start. You got another one tonight. Has only allowed 4 runs once since April 10th. Special stuff from Zack Littell. But now to a more dour note, Brandon Lau left the game early. And I don't know, that's the only con to doing this right after the game. I don't know what, Mark Tompkin or Evan Klosky is saying about his injury. Obviously, they're going to talk to Cash right after, and they're going to get the scoop on him. But I'm not encouraged. You guessed so bleak. He made that insane play to keep the score. It was another kind of game within the game moment from Brandon Lau there. But it's just not good to see him leave early again. At this point, take 2 weeks to go get right if you're Brandon Lau. Bring Curtis Mead back up, and it's not ideal. Hopefully he wasn't going to play tomorrow anyway because it's a lefty. Hopefully maybe he just needs tomorrow, another day, and he's good. But that's me being optimistic. I'm more leaning pessimistic on his injury front. I do not think that it's going to be good. I think an IL stint is kind of in the cards for Brandon Lau. Unfortunate, but hopefully again it's not severe like it was last year for him, and he can be back. By that long road trip coming up in August. But I mean, man, you would really want him, but before going to Yankee Stadium, next weekend, which is what the Rays have 4 games kind of prep for. So let's get to the comments, as unfortunately the Yankees have tied the game, because of course they have. They're down 7-3 at one point, but it's all good. The Yankees game is kind of whatever this one, because Boston lost and the Rays are a half game back of a wild card regardless. If we go to Jack's takes first, he says, well, like yesterday's one was better, but it's also important to see us battle through adversity. That's the series now, the sweep. Also nice from Uceta. Yeah, I mean, it was really good to see Uceta kind of bounce back. I wouldn't say bounce back, but he's been really inconsistent this year, and for him to kind of get through. And you saw how fired up he was after. You saw how fired up Simpson was, Kmer was. I mean, this team wants to win, and that's what you love to see. It's good. Ezra, and they say, well, with 5 walks, another thing, 3 off Kmer, who doesn't walk people. His walk rate is 2% lower than the MLB average. I didn't expect a nail biter. Thankfully, we took advantage of the errors. And Simpson, he is a game changer, 100%. As we go to Gary, says fabulous one. Once you got Dean Kremer out of there, the momentum changed, 100%. The bottom of the 8th with a masterclass in manufacturing runs. Stolen bases by Kim and Simpson. Fairbanks holds in the 9th. And that's what we talked about. They can beat you with power like they did yesterday, or they can beat you with speed. And that's what they did today in the 8th inning. As we go to Bethany Fee, she says it's about time the Rays got a break. That's what I've been saying. We talked about during the long 10-game road trip how the Rays didn't get a lot of breaks, and how it was really needed this one today, because losing this one, it goes into a game against a really tough lefty tomorrow. It kind of feels like the Rays need to win and to kind of get that winning homestand. But again, this one kind of erases all that doubt. As we go to Gary, and this is a really interesting point. What's going to happen with Christopher Morel? Does he get additional playing time, stay in part-time, or are the Rays looking to trade him? I don't know how the Rays are going to trade him. I don't know who's going to take a flyer on. Well, I mean, that's not true. I know a lot of teams will probably take a flyer on him. I think he's kind of being treated unfairly. Like, again, I think he should be playing more than, once a week. He's going to be in the lineup tomorrow. It's a lefty, but I would throw him in there, mix him in there against a righty. He's a guy that I think at least should be playing twice a week. But I'm gonna trust Kevin Cash with that. Trust what he sees in him every single day. As we go to Skrinsky, who I think it's a first-time commenter, he says it's Josh Lowe and Brandon Lau can get back in the groove. This team is dangerous. Yeah, hopefully Brandon Lau doesn't have too much of a long stint on the IL if he is indeed going there. It's just speculation at this point. Let's go to Garrett Glasgow, and he asks us, Chandler already surpassed Kiermaier? And that's an interesting question. If you're going to ask from like one single season, offensively, sometimes you kind of lean yes, because Kiermaier was kind of hot and cold there. But, I would argue Kmer is probably the best defensive center fielder of the 2010s. He's special defensively. There's a reason why. I think he had like a 5 WAR season at one point. So I would pump the brakes a little bit on that. But I think by the end of his career, for sure. As we go to Jack Crick again, another new commenter, probably an Orioles fan, as he said the Rays aren't world beaters. They beat a crappy Orioles team. No one said the Rays are world beaters, but the reason why I think this is such a huge win is because of how the Rays kind of got unlucky in the road trip, and the fact that they were able to turn that luck in this game specifically, I think is huge. As we go to Mike H, as he says, Chandler's a rookie phenom. Looks like his team is really excited to have him there. I think the whole community is excited to have him there. It's just, what he's been doing has just been spectacular. As we go to Gary, says 3-game series to keep our eyes on. This is huge. I actually noticed this today. In Toronto, the Jays are playing the Yankees. And yeah, that's going to be a huge, huge series. That's Toronto. I mean, they just keep on winning. They beat Logan Webb today. It's just kind of craziness. As we go to Marco Palaganis, as he says, extend Simpson plus Kmer. Yeah, and I wonder, we know that the Rays don't give out extensions like that too often. When they did to Wander, we know what happened with that. Obviously, Simpson and Jr. are nothing like Wander in that regard. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the Rays do. Do they try to lock up Jr. or you have him under team control for like 4 more years after this year? Going to be interesting to see him. Chandler, that's one that's maybe a next offseason thing. But you never know with the new ownership coming in. They're like, look, this is our core. This is who I want to get locked up. So before even the 26th season, I want Aranda Jr. and Simpson to have contracts. And you never know. It could be something like that. But make sure you guys get the rest of your comments in there as we start to wrap up. But first, let's look ahead at the game tomorrow as the Rays will look to go for the sweep. High noon is this game. It's going to be Ryan Pepio, who continues to be probably the Rays' best pitcher, against Trevor Rogers, who has been really good and had one really good outing against the Rays already this season. Or no, he didn't. The Rays roughed him up. I was thinking wrong, thinking of a different lefty. But since that Rays game on June 18th, he's only allowed 3 earned runs. So the Rays back on June 18th roughed him up for 3 runs in just 2 1/3 innings. But since then, like I said, only 3 earned runs. He's been really, really good recently. In that game against the Rays, some players that had big games were that was the game where, of course, the Rays came back. He was on the mound for that. And it started, Yandy had 2 hits. Curtis Mead had 2 hits. Junior had 4 hits. Aranda had 3 hits. So, that's when you start to look at how the Rays can win tomorrow, or the lineup the Rays are going to put tomorrow. I think it's going to be Kmer, Kim, Walls, or Yandy. They might start Yandy at first. And then Jansen, they're going to do Morel, Magnum, and then Cabby and right. And I think that's kind of the all right-handed lineup with Aranda, because Aranda said lefty's really good. And with that track record Aranda had last game that he was a part of, or was a part of, it's going to be interesting to see what Kevin Cash trots out there tomorrow for a lineup. So again, I appreciate all you guys for joining. Big Rays win, much needed Rays win, and hopefully tomorrow they can pick up the sweep. So if you guys are watching the replay, make sure you guys leave a like and comment. If you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave a review. All right, rate it. You rate it 5 stars, leave a review. But of course, most important thing, subscribe wherever you may be watching or listening. And we will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully after a victorious Rays win. See you guys then.